Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever. Here it's Monday morning, and here we have the finally dried corner test section. Everything is now properly down there. Everything's dried nice and rough and hard and good. This morning we're going to do a bit of ballasting. This little section here, I don't like spending too long on ballasting. It's boring. But there we are, it's a necessary evil. I'm going to go on with that for a bit, and then I'm going to consider what I need to do with this bit here. I'm hoping to put some hills, and not hills, but little mounds. Cover these broken bits up with shrubbery. Then of course at the back there. Round about here is where the tunnel mouth will be, so we're going to try and build up that section there with some bits and pieces. Hopefully I'll have that sorted within the next week. That whole back section there will be covered. Tunnel mouth will be there-ish. So I'll build up again. The retaining wall, very similar to what's going to be at the TND area. And then we can get that crane sorted out. Still need to find a grab jaw thing, I don't know. Need to look at what style I want to put on there. Get something sorted. Then we have to get the rails down for it, because it will actually fit on the rails. It will fit on rails. So there we are. Right, ballasting. We've got the trusty ballast applicator out. It's not bad. This bit of secondary track's missing loads of sleepers, so I'm going to try and fill that with ballast, dirt, crap, whatever. These are okay. The issue I find is it either gives out too much or not enough. So you've really got to adjust that little flap, for lack of a better word. Get it just right, and it works. Right, let's get started then. Right then, so that's the ballast down. Being really careful not to get any stuck on the inside of the rail shoes. Just that bit there for now. This will take a couple of days to dry properly. Then we can paint it. Get the brown on there, and do a bit of a test pass there. These little bits of card, although they might not look much at the minute, they are there to represent the divots and different height variations in the landscape. And that over there is where the tunnel mouth will start. A bit of either paper mache or PVA and toilet paper to build them up, or plaster bandage. I've not yet decided. I might use a combination of all three. Anyway, right, so a bit more progress-ish. I've now laid some good old bog roll toilet paper, tissue paper if you're posh and middle class, over the card structures. Applied a liberal mix of the old PVA and water, and I've just left it. What I've done here is I've attempted to experiment a little bit, and I've sprayed I've sprinkled a little bit of the scatter over while it's wet. Obviously you can see loads of white bits sticking through. That's fine, that's intentional, because I'm going to go back and dry brush those with dark brown, dark earths, and then add more layers and things. So that's fine. I just want to see if the scatter will stick to the wet paper mache. On this side, we've got what it looks like before applying scatter. Now this will be the tunnel. The tunnel mouth will be about here, and we're going to build it up a bit more. I'm leaving this one unscattered for the time being until it's properly dry. Then I'm going to paint it, and it's still soaking wet. This is going to be wet for days, is this? But let's see how it looks once it's dry. A bit of paint on there, PVA, blah 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 blah, scatter, the usual thing. And we'll see how that goes. In the meantime, I need to source a tunnel mouth. And also you can see the back of the yard here as well. Things are everywhere. I'm not the most methodical of models, or the cleanest, but I get things done anyway. So this is where the end of the yard will be. This will be just here is where the embankment will rise. In fact, while it's still wet, I should take the opportunity just to mold that. There you go. There you go. Easy. 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 Spray paint that. Or apply brush paint or whatever. There we go. It all looks awful when it's wet and half done. But there we are, right. So these bits here, what we're doing is essentially we're making our own version of sculptor mould in a way. This is just water and a very small amount of PVA and washing up liquid. Now that is quite watery at the minute. So all I'm going to do is just add a bit more PVA to the mix. Not much more, because this is quite runny PVA I've got here. Just B&M PVA. That's it. Give it a whiskey, rinsey. So it's near enough all together. Take your sheets of tissue paper. I've got 3 sheets there. And just sort of scrunch it up. Get it in there. Get it absorbed. And it'll start to almost break apart. That's when you know you've got the right consistency. So you plop it on your layout here. And then you go, and you can just sort of smush it about. Blend it in like that. This is wonderfully messy. It's like being back in primary school. You can see there, look, it makes a nice smooth join between the 2 areas. This will dry like stone, or as near as it. And it's cheap toilet roll. It's easy. And it's messy, which is always fun. A bit more, get it in there. Get it in there. There we are. It does take a bit of time, but the results are quite favourable. And there we go. Just on there again. Just mould it with your fingers. Get it in there. Get the edges down. There we are. And once we get some paint on this, and some more scatter, it'll look less like splodge, and it just takes away some of that flatness that you get by just scenicking the baseboard directly. There we are. Right folks, let's see how that looks in the morning. Obviously if you think ahead like an adult and pre-rip your tissue paper, you get a little production line going on. Oh, look at this now. Oh, get it in there. This is remarkably fun. What am I doing with my life? Another bit there. Of course you can elongate it as well. It doesn't have to go into little clumpy clumps. You can just do it like this. As long as you get it worked and it starts to almost break down, that's when you know you've got it about right. You want it to be almost falling apart in your fingers. There we are, look at that, jolly good. Same again. Remember, almost falling apart. That's it. Get in there. And this is jolly good. Oh, jolly good fun. Yes, marvellous. And you want those rough edges down, see, it's all smooth. You don't want that smooth line. You want to get rid of that. It's smooth. You can see a physical border. Ideally you don't want a physical border. You want it to look like it's part of the earth. There we go. Get it all in there. That's it. I mean, you might argue it's easy just to mix up some sculpt mould. Go from that. But I have this in the house and I'm impatient. Now you're not going to see too far into there, so I'm not too bothered about this bit, but this bit in particular is going to be the front of the tunnel entrance. So we're just going to get it in there. And this will take absolutely ages to dry. Make no bones about it, this will take a day or two, maybe even 3 to dry. But the end results will be far more favourable. Yeah. The nice thing is it all just moulds together as one. Use your fingers just to gently smooth it out. Remember, it's a rock face you're doing here. It doesn't need to be perfect. There we go. Jolly good. Got a bit of excess water there, so we'll just mop it up. Don't need that. This is incredibly difficult to do with one hand. But there we are. Just get the excess out if you want. And it still works really well. So you can actually just drain some of the excess out there if you need to. You see there now we've got this matted broken edge, which will look far more like landscape than this will. But again, you're not going to feel that bit. Alright, let's leave that for 1,000 years now until it's dry. Tuesday morning, early doors. Right, so overnight, the mountains, hills, whatever, still haven't fully dried. They're still a little bit moist, but they were made with a lot of water, and there's no plaster in them, unlike with the proper sculptor mould or modelling compound that you can get. I've also decided to take this bit up. Wasn't happy with how it was setting. I applied the toilet roll in a different way than I did with this bit, and this bit, and it just wasn't working as well. These bits are all holding their structure nicely, and they're actually sticking down to the baseboard really well, so when they do dry they'll grip. What I'm going to do is take this bit of flock up, just so I'm back down to bare baseboard. Then it's going to give me the chance to get a fresh surface, and then I want to reapply some of my homemade nonsense sculptor mould toilet paper mache. Wait another 2 days for it to dry. Yeah. I may actually try some sculptor mould. Apparently it dries within an hour, but it's 12 quid a bag, and I've got a lot of scenery to do, so I'm just not sure if it's going to be a viable option. But whatever, we'll give it a try. It's all about experimentation. That's why we're practicing on this little corner bit first. Once I find a method and process that I'm comfortable with, I can then roll it out, and then the layout can be built to a consistent level and standard, rather than this technique here, blah 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 blah, and it being nonsense. If I've got a formula, I can just follow it. The ballasting stuck down really well. I was really pleased at how hard that set, and I put the paint down after the ballast as well, so it's working pretty good. Right then, Tuesday night, the paper mache homemade sculptor mould, bog roll, whatever, has dried enough to enable me to give it a coat of brown paints. Brushed it on because there was no aerosols available at Halfords. So there we are. This wants to dry thoroughly. Then it's going to get a coating of called PVA glue, nice neat coating, and then a good coating of scatter. And that'll give us a nice green grassy mural. Right folks, thanks very much for tuning in. I will speak to you all very soon. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe.